County Consolidated Drainage District on March 11th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the district's office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive in Friendswood, Texas. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we are going to have our opening prayer given by Mrs. Kelly Henderson, a dear friend of my wife and my family's. Come on up here, Kelly.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this community and everyone gathered here today. Your word tells us when two or more are gathered in your name, you're with us. Thank you for your word and for your presence. Please give all those elected in elected positions your wisdom and understanding to help them navigate the decisions ahead. Let your truth be the foundation of their decisions, and may everything they do be done in love and unity, always striving to reflect your will. We are grateful for your faithful presence and your promise to guide us. May your hand be upon us throughout this meeting, and may everything we do bring glory to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
All right, Jason, lead us in the pledge, if you would, please, sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I protect the flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one nation under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, John. All right, citizens' comments. We'll limit those. That's just 5 minutes per person. Y'all can make it 3 minutes to be nice, but I'll let you go 5. Let's go with our new people first, Don. So Terry A. Collins, 2403 Daytona Court. Daytona Court.
My name's Terry Collins. We've been building in Friendswood Pyramid area since 2000. A close family friend for years and years is building on 21 Wilderness Trails. He purchased property. He was looking at 23 and switched over to 21 when it found out it was for sale. Purchased it and then found out that the city purchased the property next to him, and then further down the road, there's a big development happening and then the commercial building across the creek. But we kind of got as much information as we can and still move forward for civil engineering, and that's in architecture, and we're at the city now. That's going great. I'm just here to say I was approached by some of the neighbors further down Wilderness Trail, and they were asking about trees falling in the creek and stuff like that. And I came to the city and visited them and heard that there were lots of people out there looking around. And so the Gibson family just wants to say thank you for taking a look at the situation. And since a lot is going on right there where, he was building before, he knew all the things were happening. Thanks for taking a look back there. From what I understand, the drainage district went out there and looked around and, so that was it. Just wanted to make sure that the Gibson families at 516 Pine Ridge in Friendswood, before they move over to 21, if everything continues to go as well as we hope it is. So that's all I'd say.
Thanks, Terry.
Go Friendswood Girls Soccer. I'm going to their game right now. They won the game.
Good luck. It's awesome. Okay. Where are they playing, Terry? Where are they going?
Home. So yeah, so they won district. They're state now.
Who are they playing?
Tonight? I don't know. I'm gonna go find out.
Take care. All right. Miss Levy?
I just have paperwork to hand out. That's all. Do you, James Gibson? Yes, sir.
Miss Levy is here serving a federal lawsuit.
And then
Louis Tanos against the board members to let her know why she's here. You're a persistent lady.
well, I'm just trying to drop off. She's doing my job. I have no idea what it's about.
Thanks giving me a hard time. Thanks for coming up. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Michael Ross, 310 Wood Screen Court. Circle, sorry. I can't read your hand. We can write better.
Mom said I should have been a doctor.
Probably where you went to school at Texas.
That's probably the problem. My name's Michael Ross. I'm very thankful for this board because most recently we had a little issue with the creek down behind my house. And one phone call, Randy came out, assessed the situation, did not give me the standard, nope, not our problem. I don't know what to tell you. Somebody else has got to deal with it. Instead, he assessed it, went out, made a game plan, came back, brought a contractor out. Short order, they're going to be working on it, fixing, a slough that has fallen off. So I'm very appreciative of the new board. I know exactly how that would have gone with the old board. So thank you for, managing situations that are near and dear to all of us in the Friendswood area for flooding. Likewise, I'm running for city council position 6. So if any of y'all want to have a conversation after this meeting, I'll be happy to accommodate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Johnson. 5 a.m. texter. You're probably tired by now. Are you awake enough to give a?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
In fact, I've got two very, very quick things, so not going to be a long and drawn out presentation. Just want everybody to know there's going to be a tour of Dickinson Bayou on Saturday, April the 5th at 8:30 a.m. If you're interested in going to see Dickinson Bayou, they're going to show you the wildlife and show you a lot of the drainage features of Dickinson Bayou. Contact Paige here. I'm sure that she can help anybody that might want to get on that RSVP list and go see that.
We're going to go west of 45. That's a real fun trip.
It's going to start at Highway 3 and Dickinson Bayou and should take a couple of hours. So it's going to be a pretty extensive
It did last year.
tour.
Yeah, that's the fun part when you get west of 45 and you get up in there and look at the detritus that's fallen.
Well, this is all going to be from boats.
Yep.
So they won't be able to get too far back into the.
I did it 20 years ago on a boat like that. So I did it 20 years ago on a boat like that.
Unless they find an airboat somewhere.
Yep.
The other quick note that I wanted to mention something about, and Rusty already said something about it. When I got up this morning, there was one of these memory texts on my phone. And it was from back at 5 years ago on this date. Notice was received from Harris County Flood Control that they were about to start the demolition of the 2 small buildings and decontamination of them, where they're now doing the Friendswood retention basin on Dixie Farm Road. So I had forgotten, God, has it been that long? Has it been 5 years ago? Because that was the actual start of construction activities where they were actually doing something, taking those buildings down and doing cleanup of all that. So it's coming right along. I talked to somebody else sent me a note back this morning and said, well, they're not doing anything over there yet, are they? He said, I heard they're still in the planning stages. And I'm like, no, they're halfway done. Their phase 1 has already been completed, and now they're working on phase 2. But if you get a chance to go down Dixie Farm Road, take a quick look over to that big field that used to be there. And they've really got a detention project going on.
Where are they hauling all that dirt?
They're hauling it up to, I think, the Hill Sand Yard, which that is going up there.
They're actually going east right now with it. I'm not sure where they're
I've seen
going.
a lot of dirt.
Because they're going towards 45 with it right now.
How much are they
I
paying?
go there every
Have you
morning.
figured out what they're
It could be
paying their
a pack
contractor?
Yeah, they're filling in the sand pit off the Beltway, there near across from the golf course. So I think that's where that's going now.
I'm pretty sure it's not in Galveston County. They got the message from that. Anyway, I just wanted to mention those 2 things real quick for you.
Thank you, Tom.
Hey, on the boat trip, since if y'all are interested as private citizens going on the boat trip, Dave Johnson is the head of Dixon Bayou Watershed Board now. Kim sits on that board for us, but if you're interested, reach out to Paige, you can reach out to Kim, and we can probably accommodate the citizens we'll accommodate who we can. Last year, 4 of us went on that trip. I hope this year all 5 of us go. I think Jim was out of town. But it's a good trip. And yes, Michael, they'll get west of 45. I think last year we went west for about 20 minutes probably.
That's about right. But
Yeah, we didn't get, it's not, you can't get way back there.
You can't get up into the bypass.
And we
where-
were on the sheriff's boat last year. I think the sheriff had a boat. We were on a boat. It wasn't a game warden, but somebody, Texas Department of something had a boat there. There was what,
There
4?
were 4 beds.
4 boats. And they were all about 16 to 20 foot boats. So they vary, but it's a nice trip for y'all to kind of see Dickinson, how big that bayou is down there when it gets, and we did go back a long way to the east. It took a good trip down there. So
Yeah, from 3 to about 646 and from 646 down all the way past 146.
so I got 4 hours.
It is one of the most beautiful boat rides you can take in this part of Texas.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you'll see where the water, they'll show you where the water was here in Harvey. And it's kind of like where I live on Clear Creek. It's pretty hard to believe where it was at. And it's really hard to believe, but it was there. So anyway, contact Paige or Kim, and if you want to go, and we'll let as many people as I can go. We can get some extra votes, maybe. All right. Presentations. Number 5, presentation by the CEO of Procurement, Samantha Heritos, regarding the GCCDD Master Drainage Plan.
So,
Do you feel comfortable? Would you rather do it here? Oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah, come on up to the podium.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this pretty short. You can go ahead and flip, Scott, as soon as you click them. All right, so this is gonna be about a master drainage plan for Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District. What is a master drainage plan? The drainage plan is if you're at a municipality, it's part of a comprehensive plan, but for us, it is going to be an overarching planning tool that we will use to help guide our CIP, our capital improvement plan. Historically, I do not believe that the drainage district has ever done a master drainage plan or a CIP. That's changing. The master drainage plan, I'm going to go more into detail, but it would involve hydrology and hydraulic modeling to understand flooding patterns and to identify possible projects. It would look at the impacts of future growth and changes in climate patterns. Doing a master drainage plan is a great chance to take a look at your design criteria and update it if there's anything that is not working well, or to comply with what you find during the planning study. We already touched base on looking at different alternatives. Community engagement is part of it. We reach out to the community. We see what the community's concerns are and see if they have project concepts. Community engagement's a big part of it, and that will continue through the CIP process. Typically, a master drainage plan is done every 5 to 10 years. And again, it's used to help put your capital improvement plan together. So next. All right. So we've been looking at cost estimates, and I've worked with Scott, and I've also worked with a couple private firms to double check pricing. But basically, our thought is that we would look at doing a phase 1 for Dickinson Bayou and a phase 2 for Clear Creek. And then there's a few additional items that would be jurisdiction wide that we would fold in with Clear Creek. We would start with Dickinson Bayou for a couple of reasons. There are a lot of different studies going on right now in Clear Creek. Friendswood has their master drainage plan ongoing. The Lower Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou study, there's a lot of talk about pushing that forward. So that hopefully will be kicking off here soon. And we want to make sure that we capture the results from those studies whenever we put our study together, and that we take into account, we don't want to be just doing another model. We want to take advantage of all the tools that are out there and make sure that we're using existing information. So Dickinson Bayou would be first. The total cost, and I'm going to break it down into where those costs are coming from, would be about $694,000 for Clear Creek. And the difference between Dickinson Bayou and Clear Creek, the Clear Creek one would include 2 items that are jurisdiction wide. One of those would be an acquisition plan, And the reason why that's pushed toward the end is because it would be based upon all the results of the study. We would need to know what alternatives are being identified. And then we'll be looking at easement acquisition during both of these drainage plans. So once we've done that easement identification process for Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou, that can also help inform our acquisition plan. And then the other item that is jurisdiction-wide is a repetitive loss and damage structure assessment. And I separated that out because in the event that we wanted to look at doing a grant for that single item, that is something that would be looked upon very favorably for a federal grant. So anyhow, phase one would be $694,000, phase two, $926,000. And then one of the things that I wanted clarification on, or that I hope to get clarification on today from the board, is how we want to fund these. Do we want to go out for phase one? And again, I'm going to break down more, so not yet, but just to get you thinking. So do we want to look at funding outright the first phase one, and then pursuing a federal grant for phase two? Or do we want to look at pursuing grants for both of them? And again, it's going to come down to if we pursue federal funding, it takes 2 to 3 years it takes 2 years for that funding to really come through and the project to kick off. So there's a delay in getting started. At the bottom in teal, if we did a grant for just phase two, the total cost that we'd be looking at is $794,000 to $944,000. That's us paying the outright cost for phase one on Dickinson Bayou, and then paying the local match that we would have if we pursued a federal grant. The local match would be either 25% or 10%. It's hard to tell until we really get in there and look at things. And then if we went after grants for both phase one and phase two, the total cost that GCCDD would be looking at is $200,000 to $500,000. So it's a pretty big difference. Again, it comes down to the cost versus timing. How important is it that we get started now? Okay, go ahead and switch it, Scott. Oh man, it's a little hard to see. Well, the cost you can see on the right. Okay, so that's better. So this is broken down. There's a column that shows days, hours, and then cost. For data collection, that's typically about a 2-month process. A lot of these are based off of 2 or 3 month processes. So, but the items that are included are data collection, survey. Survey is going to be really important for Dickinson Bayou. We're going to have a lot more survey data on Clear Creek, especially with the sedimentation study that we're doing, and just the fact that there's a lot of other studies that have been going on in this area. I'm sure that Friendswood has their own survey portion of the master drainage plan that they're doing as well, which would likely benefit us. Base model development, HEC HMS, HEC RAS. It doesn't have to be those models, but basically HEC HMS is the hydrology model, which is your looking at your rainfall runoff, and HEC RAS looks at your river model. So just to put together the base model for Dickinson Bayou, we're looking at $56,000 for the hydrology, $84,000 for the hydraulics. I have an item in both of these for historic storm and calibration. That's pretty standard. We would go through and look at 2 or 3 storms. One of them would be Harvey. Maybe one would be Allison. And then I think it's pretty important for us for both Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou when we're doing this to look at a combined storm event to make sure that we are handling our tidal impacts correctly. Then underneath historic storm and calibration is hypothetical storm development. So hypothetical storms, that's when you're going to use these storms to go through and run your alternatives. That's you hear it referred to as a 10-year storm, a 25-year storm, a 50-year storm, 100-year storm, and 500-year storms are the ones that we most frequently hear of. This item right now for both the phase 1 Dickinson and phase 2, I have 60 days in there, and part of that is because when we are looking at developing our hypothetical storms, I thought it would be a good opportunity to not only look at the existing conditions, but also what do we want to be designing our projects to in the future? Do we want to look at multi-day storms? Because right now the standard storm is 24 hours. If you look at historically what's been bad to our area, or the most damaging, is these multi-day storms, Allison and Harvey. With the future condition hypothetical storms, do we want to look at full build up? Do we want to look at the increasing frequency and intensity of storms? So all of that would go into the hypothetical storm development. Fully built out models, that would be where they go in and they update the land use for fully built out, and they update impervious cover. Regional detention assessment. I have this in there. This is some discussions with Scott. Both phase 1 and phase 2 have this in there. We are not 100% sure how the regional detention basins and the way that we're accounting them were set up historically. So we want to make sure that we study we want to make sure that we study so that we understand how much regional detention is left, but also that the method that we're using makes sense. So that's what that is. Easement determination, that's going to be going through and making sure that on all the tribs and the main stem that the process for easements that we're using makes sense. Looking at 8 project alternatives, community outreach, and then the report and final model. So that's how we get to 694,000. Scott, switch it. This one is very similar. This is for phase 2 Clear Creek. The main difference is down at the bottom. I've included repetitive loss and damage structure assessment jurisdiction-wide. This would be looking at structures that have flooded more than one time. It's a lot easier to get grant projects funded. And we would be looking at either elevation projects, floodproofing projects, or buyouts. So it's kind of its own category. But we could potentially apply for a separate grant for that if we didn't want to keep it in phase 2. And then finally, the jurisdictional acquisition plan. So, yes.
So the 2 questions that I've gotten most often about our plan to do our own master drainage plan is, the first is that the cities are doing their own master drainage plan. Why do we need our own? And so if you wouldn't mind briefly telling us why ours being specific to us is so important. And then the second question I'm getting on it is, how long does this take? So if we choose to do it in-house, what is the process like through bidding it out, finding the right vendor, and then getting a product out? So if you wouldn't mind touching on those 2 things for the board and for the public.
So I would argue that almost every agency should have their own master drainage plan, especially a drainage district. We touched on it a little bit, but we can, instead of going out for independent studies like we're doing right now, any project that we can think of that we would be interested in doing in the next 5 to 10 years can be studied inside of this. So long-term, it's going to be saving funds for the district. When we study those projects, we will look at developing benefit cost assessments. And so once we have that, we can prioritize our projects. It'll give us a clear pathway forward of how we should proceed instead of just throwing money out here and here and here. It's going to help us to make sure that our design criteria manual, things that we're having people do make sense, that the easement requirements we have are based on sound doctrine, that the regional detention methodology we're using is based on science and method, and that it's the best that we can do. So basically, once we do the master drainage plan, is part of this process, it's gonna lead right into our capital improvement plan. And right now we have it broken up, so it would be Dickinson, Bayou, and Clear Creek. But with the benefit cost assessment, we have Dickinson, Bayou, Clear Creek, and it would be very easy to go then and identify where we should be prioritizing spending our money based on the results of that. If you board wanted to fund phase 1 right now, It would probably be 2 to 3 months to get probably 3 months. I'll say 3 to 4 months to get the RFQ out there and the firm selected, and then we could get moving right away. The timeline would probably be 18 months. If they were really rushing it, it could be 12 months, but the fact that they have to go in and survey, it really, 18, and there's community engagement, it's a long study. So if we funded it immediately, 3 to 4 months down the road, we'd have a contractor, then it would take about 18 months for the study to complete. If we went after a grant, it would be a minimum federal grant of about 1.5 years before we saw the funding from the date that the grant was due. There are federal, well, it's really the I'm just not even gonna go into that. There's a lot of chaos going on at the federal level right now, so it's not clear for anybody what's gonna happen. But normally, grants come out every fall. There are grants out right now. I'm not 100% sure that they're gonna stay out because the NOFOs have been pulled off the webs, but typically, as soon as we put the application in for the grant, it would take about 1.5 years for them to review that and then get back to us with a yes or no decision. And then, it's so 1.5 years, few years to see the money and get started.
Well, Sam, I'm going to pick it up for you there. So we're going to have a discussion here in a while about the master drainage plan and the cost. To do that. Scott and I and Paige, and I think Jim has heard a lot about that, about how I see that going, and I'll feather that into the city and IDRT and what IDRT is going to do for us. We're going to talk about that too from the Institute of Disaster Resilience Texas and A&M. The information they're going to give us in their 2 studies, we're going to find, hopefully the board will vote for that. I'm sure for it. And the information that's going to give us on the second half of the Clear Creek side, the information we're going to give them the city hill, you and I've talked about that hill, how we're going to dovetail that in. But our riverine and creek and our conveyance, the way we do things as drainage district is different than what the city's scope is. The scopes don't totally not interlock and interface, but there is a different scope of work that we look for here, what we're trying to do on our creeks, our rivers, our tributaries, our ditches, and we have 2 watersheds to deal with. So we're going to get as much information. We're going to talk about that later. And that's how Scott and I built this plan of how we think we're going to fund that second half. And we're going to talk about those. But the other thing I want to tell you is the multi-day rain events have to be studied because that's what got us in Claudette 79, 2001 with Allison, and what got us in Harvey. However, when you talk about the combined event, this is the event that I'm most scared of for the city of Friendswood being in front of my whole life, is I want the combined storm of a 12 to 15 inch rain with a 9 to 12 foot surge studied, because that's, I think, the magical bullet that's really going to put a big strain on us. 9 to 12 to 15 inches of rain and a slower moving hurricane with a 9 to 12 foot surge. And that's probably a category 3, high 3 to a 4, hitting within, 40 miles from anywhere from Freeport up to Bolivar. And we'd probably rather hit a little north, but that's the storm that scares me when you do, Scott, when y'all do the, when y'all ask for that modeling. And like I said, if y'all have any questions, board, ask them, but we're going to have that conversation about the funding here down in IJ and down here in the thing. We'll kind of go into what you're talking about. All right. 6, discussion action items. A, approve or deny the final plat of the Wild Pines G240102. It's a development of 11.135 acre tract of land, and the plat meets the district requirements, including dedication of a 90-foot drainage easement for Coward Creek and a 30-foot drainage easement for a tributary that abuts a current 20-foot easement, satisfying the 50-foot requirement. And we have received our letter of no objection from the city of League City on that. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Scott, anything on this? I know.
Yeah, I'd like to clarify that's a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood.
Okay, so it's from Steve Friendswood.
Yeah.
So it's not from Matt.
Not for that.
Anything for the board
No.
on that? I know.
Again, got the easements that we require, so it's good to go.
Y'all looked at that.
Down off fence post, right? So everybody,
So it's behind, this is the one behind Moore, behind
the ag.
behind the ag barn
Yeah.
on the right.
Yes, sir.
Anything, Jim?
I've got no questions. Thank you.
No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? B, approve or deny the plans for Center Point Sugar Creek Crossing at FN 518 G 24019. It's a 6-inch gas line under Sugar Creek. Staff recommendations, the plan meets the district requirement for a utility crossing, and we have received a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood. Motion to discuss?
Motion.
So Scott, is there anything on that that's unusual than the other pipe crossings we've approved the last 2-3 years?
No, sir. They're giving us 10 foot of cover from the bottom of the channel to the top of their proposed pipe.
How deep are they shooting it?
That's what I was asking.
About 12 feet. Yeah. So the creek is 12 feet, I'm sorry, and an additional 10. So yeah, they're going to be around 22.
Angled or straight?
No, it's directional drill.
But are they going to angle it, or are they going to just going to directional drill it straight across?
It's,
Because sometimes they want to angle.
It's got a slight angle on it because of the right of way alignment. I wouldn't move to it, but it looks like we're having a display issue here with our system. So.
I'm here on behalf of Centerpoint. It is just a slight angle. Oh, yeah, there you go. But it's just a ball along the right of way, but all in all, pretty much a straight shot.
And how deep are you going underneath that?
Like he was saying, it's 10 feet deep. It looks like, roughly elevation level, which is about 17 feet. We're going down to about 27 feet in total.
So below grade.
Yes, sir.
27. So any desilting or any work that can be done in the future, you're still.
They're going to be 10 foot below the existing channel volume right now.
Yes.
That's the requirement. And criteria manual calls for them to be at least 10 foot below that, or they've got to provide a concrete cap, which costs a lot of money. So that, they owe us off to go deeper.
That's how you have to start in the section.
David? Okay. Any questions? All those in favor?
I
Opposed?
Can I get a motion,
Oh,
Mr. President?
Yeah, motion to approve.
We need a second.
Second.
Second. Okay.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
We have a motion to discuss it.
Approve or deny 405 Regional Detention Final Plan G250007. Proposed redevelopment of 1.1597 acre commercial tract at 405 Laurel Lane. The board approved the purchase of regional detention in February 2025 meeting. Development plans meet the requirements for a final drainage plan, and we received a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood. Can I get a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second. Any comments on that one, Scott?
The project has submitted and paid for the regional detention fee. So everything meets the criteria. Not impacting the adjoining sites. They've got perimeter swells there, so recommended for approval.
This is a district.
Yes.
It's the one, Scott, it's right there. It's kind of behind, it's pretty close to, we covered that city, I think the city council the other night.
That was, well, two
Was it, Jason, was it?
Two meetings
Not
ago.
last meeting, but the meeting before,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Just down from West Spreading Oaks.
Yeah.
Right. You
This is
behind
a
the
part of-
behind the library there.
They rezoned it downtown district, correct?
Yeah. And this is a part of what will be a larger project, combined properties. Is that the
I haven't seen it. Okay.
hill, am I wrong on that one? Is this the one where it's gonna be, because I remember the homeowners came, that this is adjacent to their property. There's this one subsect and then this.
Yeah, that's about a block over that property
Okay.
that was a concern. So this is a different one.
Okay, thanks.
So it's a block away hill from that,
It's a 0.459 or whatever the other one was.
and they've already paid the
Yeah,
regional detention. They've already paid that, Scott, the detention.
Yes, they did submit payment. We received it. We received. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty. D, approve or deny to the design criteria manuals, improvements in a private detention pond in a facility. Currently, our criteria manual states in Appendix B, the required plat and plan notes that no permanent improvements, including landscaping, paving, trees, utilities, or playground equipment may be constructed within a detention facility, including the maintenance firms, without the district approval. So what we're looking at is to consideration to amend to read as follows. No permanent improvements, including landscaping, paving, trees, utilities, or playground equipment may be constructed within a detention facility, including maintenance firms on facilities that are owned or maintained by the district without district approval. That change would allow privately owned and maintained facilities the capabilities to install amenities such as landscaping on their facilities. Scott Page, can he add his wording, his wording to that before we discuss, or?
Yes, did you want to
Sure, Scott.
explain?
Yes. The board does consider this for approval. I highly recommend that you consider a caveat that states that if the district does have to maintain a private facility that has improvements installed in it, that you're not responsible for any damage to those improvements. In the event, and we've only done one in the 2 decades I've been around, and that's the one behind Kroger that we just did last year.
Okay, let me get a motion to discuss. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second. Okay, now let's talk about it. Any questions for Scott on this?
So on the process, I did have one question. Okay, so this is similar to the first variance we ever did, the baseball facility.
We did allow them to, they built a berm and basically used their proposed field for part of their detention, not entirely, right?
So we still maintain, even by allowing this, we still maintain oversight to approve or deny. That doesn't go, but it's not expressly stated.
This is changing the design criteria manual to allow private detention facilities to install improvements in them.
Without our.
Correct,
Without-
without a variance, you know, that-
It'll be a change in the criteria manual. For example, Castle Biosciences, which we did not allow. Now, under this, they would be allowed in the criteria manual, wouldn't have to come to us. It would be allowed.
What's it?
Private ponds only, not one weeds we maintain, only private ponds.
Well, that was specific, well, and we would have to upgrade the acreage on the castle. That was 25 acres, but so that was to allow under a certain size for commercial. So my question here would be, would we still not want to have oversight of it? This is allowed, but we would still want the same oversight.
No, so we've got several variance requests for landscaping in walkways and benches to be placed in private detention facilities. So what this will allow is basically for the board not to have to consider or approve those variances on a case-by-case basis. This is going to change our general note, our design criteria manual to where it's not allowed in district maintained facilities. So if it's a private pond, they could install trees and everything without the district's, a separate approval from us. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
I got a question for you, Scott. Does the, so these are, I think the ones we're talking about are retention funds.
Yes.
And they're responsible for maintaining that anyway.
Correct.
So this just basically changes so they can plant trees, flowers, whatever around it.
Yes, sir.
And then your addition was, if we do have to take over, we're not responsible for the harm to your structure.
Correct. Any kind of improvements that are in there, if we run them over a tractor, the board, I'm not saying we're going to, but.
I want that written. I want that written page.
My suggested language is, so on facilities owned or maintained by the district, district approval, period. If the district does obtain ownership or maintenance responsibilities of such private facilities, the district shall not be responsible to any damage, replacement, or reimbursement of any improvements damaged or removed by the district, period. Such that if we did for some reason become responsible or take responsibility of our own accord for any such facilities, that if we needed to remove a bench, some trees on a maintenance berm, or create rivets within a trail, that we're not responsible for replacing such a tree or putting the bench back if we have to push it out of the way.
So that's the language.
Yes.
See, it's nice to have employers sometimes. See, they're good. They're good for something.
Much better.
They're good for something. Every once in a while, that's what we want her in here. We let her sit here every once in a while. That's good.
That was off the top of our head, too.
That's good. That's good language. That's what I wanted to hear. So with that language, Discussion, Jim?
I think it's a good idea.
I do too. I like it. I mean, I think it'll make Friendswood beautiful. And I think it'll, if we have to take care of it, which we will, we'll do it in the right way. We'll be very courteous and we'll do it as inexpensive as we can, but it won't be doing it there'll have to be a reason. And the reason is we've had one facility private behind Kroger's that pie out on us. And we couldn't track down, and Jim, you remember that in the old board, we couldn't track down who it was. And we made it into a drainage project on Mary's Creek. So we kind of just incorporated that pond into our little bank repair back there. So I think it'll be rare if this happens. So my recommendation to the board is just to approve this, but any more discussion before I put it to a vote? We have a motion to approve.
Motion.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So we can scratch E now, Scott. E was for the citizens, it was a variance request on this exact same item. So we put this ahead of it to cover E. That's correct, right?
Correct.
Thank you. We can go to F, right, Paige?
Yes, sir.
F, discussion and consideration
Thank you. I didn't see it until someone leaves back. No see.
of Liberty Tree Estates final plat G 250014 development proposed replat of a 9.725 acre tract of land creating 2 lots. An additional easement allowing Coward Creek and Garden Villa ditch being dedicated. The plat meets the district requirements and we received a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood. Do I have a motion to discuss?
motion to discuss.
Second. Anything, Mr. Gibson?
No, I don't see.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. The Sterling Creek Homeowners Association thanks you. We now know where this building is. And we'll look for everything.
Thank y'all.
Good to see you.
What's your name, sir?
Colonel
My
Tom.
name's
What's your name?
BR 549.
I just want you to know, if y'all send us a note about our plants being dead in the front yard, you have to deal with that blonde lady right there. Do that.
We'll do
I
it.
had the gardener over this morning. Thank
Yeah,
you.
y'all take care. Thank
Y'all
you
don't
very
be strangers. Come see us.
much.
Bye-bye.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
As long as you've got the easements that are required, I don't have an issue with it.
On the Liberty Tree Estates plat.
Yes.
Yeah, so along Counter Creek, original dedication from the original Liberty Tree plat, dedicated 80 feet. We now require 90, so they are dedicating the additional 10 foot. The Garden Villa ditch, if the computer would function properly, it would let me zoom in and show you, but the existing top of bank is out of the drainage easement. So they're dedicating the additional easement to incorporate that facility. So it does meet our criteria.
I like how everybody's following along.
Any other questions for Scott? Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Scratch it. All right, G, discussion and consideration for approval. We love this part. Westica Una budget agreement for a 5-year term. This is a budgeting software that Paige would like to use to update and modernize how we budget here at the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District. A motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second,
Ms. Page?
Okay, so one of the things that I've identified in my short term as office already is that the way that they were doing budgeting does not benefit the district. And I'll say it, it was through an Excel spreadsheet, which is not a budgeting software. You are not really able to do forecasting, capital improvement plans, figuring out, well, if we do X, Y, and Z over the next 5 years, where does that leave us as a good steward of public trust and public funds? And so I shopped around. I got multiple quotes. They were all under $25,000 a year, so very reasonable for a district of our size with the funds that we do have. The current agreement that I have before you is for a 5-year term, which I believe is a good term for not just introduction, but to be able to see really what it can do and to stretch its legs, so that we can better track every single dollar that we're spending. And this is going to be part of an overarching mission of mine over the next year to not just budgeting, but also asset management, project operations, and making sure that things are being run efficiently. I'm excited about it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Is it something that they're gonna provide training for Randy and you both? Is it gonna, Scott's gonna be involved?
Yes, so as part of this, there's,
Is there engineering management on there and stuff like, is there engineering?
So they do grant.
Say
the,
it again?
the grant administration is not part of this particular proposal, but, there is there's also a public transparency part of it as well, whereas we can export in reports, different spreadsheets and pie charts, that there'll be a site for the public that they can go on and they can see our budget book. And it's, there is training, there's integration team that's as part of it. There's a set cost, a one time, that's in the proposal as well. That is part of like a week to week multi-meeting plan so that we can perfect it, set up the dashboards the way we want them, train the staff on how to use it appropriately. It's gonna be good.
What's the setup cost?
The setup cost, we pull up the proposals, that we have it in front of us. It's, if you look at your 3/11/2025 regular meeting materials, it's in the item 6G budget software item. And it is
24.9. Does that sound right?
It sounds right. So I'll go over the costs. So the costs that we have, the operating licenses are unlimited. So as many staff members as we need to use it, we can. Capital project planning licenses are unlimited. The open book transparency is included in this. The recurring annual fee is $19,500. And then the non-recurring one-time fee is $5,400, which is something I bargained down from their original fee of $12,000. So we're getting that for less than half price. So the total first year price is $24,900, and then in the additional years, it's just the $19,500. There is a 3% annual increase beginning after year 2 to keep up with inflation. But the overarching contract for year 1 is $24,900.
Where is the list of cities that you provided that were using this stuff?
Yes, so that would be on page, let's see,
There's close to 30 of them in Texas.
in the agenda.
That's why I think it was a pretty good list.
It was.
Yes, including HGC, which is great. Might be in the proposal.
Can you integrate, will y'all be able to integrate stuff like the HVAC, or let's say somebody like Harris County Flood Control or Houston was using it? Would y'all be able to share information or talk in real time with this stuff, or?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And so on page 5 of the proposal, it has the list including Fort Worth, Denton, Amarillo, Garland, Abilene, Texarkana, Conroe, Tomball, Katy, Walker County, HJC, and then a whole slew of other special districts like irrigation districts, water services, utility boards, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. And what's great about the ones that are underlined, including HJC, Conroe, Walker County, those are specific ones that the integration team has identified, as there's a person there that we can talk to in real time that can share their experiences about their Questica budgeting and what they found to be most useful, and people who are willing to work with it. And so I think it's going to be really useful.
Is it training cost for one time? Or if we have staff turnover?
If there's staff turnover, we can reach out to them. There's a chat function like you would on other software where we can get real-time help on it, but I can also schedule trainings.
It's a huge step up. It's like replacing the panel on my airplane. It's a big step up as far as.
Sticky notes.
I can't get my finger work. I remember looking at the brochure you gave us and everything it would do. It was pretty
I
impressive.
think it looks great. I looked at it.
Samantha, would you be able to use it for anything that you're
Yeah,
doing for your
Yeah,
grant?
I like, well, I'm gonna help Paige with the CI, once we get to doing our capital improvement plan. And so this integrates with that
Well, as part of that, so with federal grant money coming in, which is something that the organization's rather new at, we do need to be able to allocate funds to keep certain things separate, to make sure that we're tracking the federal dollars for audit purposes, to make sure that we're meeting all their requirements. So really having software like this is not just something that I recommend as something you need to do in the 21st century, but is something that might affect our ability to do what we want to do.
Good job.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Paige. Very
Thank you.
impressive. Westica. All righty. H, discussion and consideration of the Clearview project
Motion.
and G25500027. I know, Jim.
There will be no
Hey.
discussion.
Can I, do I need, well, listen, this, I will say this. Well, let me have a motion to discuss.
Motion to second.
Second, okay. The caveat on this is we need the city to approve the interlocals on the Clearview, the Deepwood, and the Frenchman's Creek stuff. Once they do that, we'll be able to move along and do what, the board would like to do there. So anyway, on A, it's an approval of professional services for the site survey with FMS surveying. It's a cost of $27,000 plus $165 an hour for work outside the scope, including record research and abstract fees plus a 10%. B, it'll be the approval of professional services agreement, hydrology and hydraulic analysis with 5E Engineering, $156,510. Approval of professional services agreement for the geotechnical engineering with Get Engineering, GET Engineering, $21,103 plus $2,820 if a swamp buggy rig is needed. That'll be plus 15%. That's possible, Scott. What do you think? I mean, it's pretty dry down there right now, but whatever.
I think everybody just likes the word
Yeah,
buggy.
I think they like putting
Definitely
that
tell
in
the
there.
small party puts it.
It sounds cool. It sounds cool. Maybe we can put people on the. Also, the approval of a professional service agreement with Daniel Scott Engineering for civil engineering, $60,000 plus a 10% review and runner fees. So questions for the board or Clearview, so y'all know, is down towards where, Clear Creek comes in and hits and, Cowards Creek is going back that way too, but it's an area we've already shelved a little bit of.
Oh, yeah. This is an additional
Yeah.
10 acres.
Right.
If we get the city.
If we get the city and the property.
Joining what we've already done.
Yeah, so we own a bunch of property there. And can we put it up? Can we put up what we own and what the city owns so we can show them what we're trying to do, Scott?
See if this computer's
The
gonna.
project's a lot bigger if we combine the property.
Who pointed out in the map? Our brand new
Yeah.
8x4.
Hold it.
We could. It's super.
Yeah, it's too little.
Okay.
Something's wrong with the display, thing on our system. President. I'm gonna have to get it rectified. You see what it's doing?
Yeah.
But Jim, you have questions or you want to talk about this?
I just wanted to say that 5 Engineering is here if you have any questions for them.
I would expect and hope that the city would approve this April the 7th. And I would imagine it would take that long for us to get set up to start spending this money. So I want to approve it. I want it to go on. But if there's any reservation on anybody's part, we can make it contingent on city approval before we spend any money.
Oh, well, for sure. But I think they're going to approve it. This is for the public. This is a project that Samantha and Scott, we had 3 that we were looking at. Clearview, Deepwood, it's where the old city dog pound was, across, actually from where Kim lives, right across Cowards Creek right there. And then we had Frenchman's Creek, which was where some condos went down, actually about where I live in Poly Ranch. But of the 3 projects that Samantha and Scott thought would have the best chance, because we have to study it to make an impact of the water surface elevation and give us some benefit, was the Clearview project. And Jim and I had theorized that for a long time, but we let the big brains come up with what they recommended. And we're going to talk about later on the funding of how we're going to do our CIP stuff and how we're going to rank everything else. And I'll feather that in. But this is a project we'd like, if the city will approve the interlocal, which I believe they will, will get going in Hill. You might have some comments on that. Was there a reason it wasn't, aside from legal reasons? Can you see any reason, Hill, why that's going to be held up?
As far as it being approved, I don't see that being an issue. But the reason it's been held up right now is there's two different versions that were floating out there, and just needed to have a come together of which version was going to be used. And it was really minor things like what the history of the property was, or was it a Tropical Storm Allison project, or was it a more recently purchased project or property? So it doesn't sound like it anything too major to me. So
Is there as far as the pricing and everything goes, are we on clock? Is there an amount of time that this is good for? So that maybe our friends at the city.
Yeah, those are hard bids too, Hill, just so you know. So we need to get those right now. And that's true, Scott. They're all hard bids, aren't they?
Yep.
Okay.
I would like to say one thing and or ask 5E. The services, this is for planning level H&H, and then development of a high level benefit cost assessment. Design H&H engineering would be additional. Is that correct?
That's correct. We would do the, I believe the way that we scoped it, it's been a couple months, so give me a second. So we scoped it to where we would look at various alternatives at a high level and see what we thought the best alternative would be. And then once we did that, we would go into like the full drainage impact analysis part of your study to where you would show that there's no impact. So it's ready to go into design, but it doesn't include the design fees. That would be you guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
These are just necessary costs for us. I know it sounds expensive for all sitting out there, but they're necessary for us to think if the product is worth it, doing the full cost benefit analysis and the water surface elevation changes, and if there's a benefit. So
Well, we also have to know, does it affect its neighbors upstream,
absolutely
downstream?
all that.
Not just the benefit, but to save us from any potential liability for hazard it can cause. So
It's all in.
doing it the right way is expensive.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm sure, do we need to pass that caveat or not? Do I need to propose the motion that we will not release any funds until we have the interlocal signed?
Oh, we're good.
You sure?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right, Mr. Attorney. All right, here we go. Discussion consideration of the Texas A&M Institute of Disaster Resilient Texas Agreement, IDRT. It's approval of a master agreement between Texas A&M University at Galveston for research projects and contemporaneous approval of task 1 and task 2. Approval of task 1 is the Clear Creek sedimentation study, and really it's kind of a study of the conveyance and hydrology of the creek that he's going to do with the drone. We've already had that presentation, but we can get that on our site. I think it might be on our site. The second is approval of task number 2, which is the gate optimization study and the Clear Lake, lowering the level of Clear Lake at the terminal end of Clear Creek, which I think is important. The gate's at 146, pumps, I think 20,000 cubic feet per second.
Yes.
Yeah, to lower the level of the lake, to get the conveyance of Clear Creek to actually go somewhere. I have support from that to my friends in Missouri County that I'm super tight with. And I can't imagine anybody through League City, Matt, anybody being opposed to what this study is going to show. And we're going to talk about how that's going to feather into our next discussion item. So anyway, do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
All right. Paige, do you have the updated costs for us on task 1 and task 2?
Yes, so Texas A&M at Galveston, their contracting team kicked back that they had accepted our 20% indirect costs. And so the task 1, the Clear Creek sedimentation study with the 20% total is $314,280. Task 2 is $192,805 for a total of task 1 and 2 being $507,085. So just over $500,000.
Big deal. is this instructs everything we do. This gives us the ammo to do, this is where everything begins, right?
Okay, what's gonna happen here? And I'll just go ahead and kind of skip ahead a little bit before we do it. So what Scott and I, Jim, and Paige talked about the other day is we're gonna get a lot of information from the IDRT studies. The IDRT studies combined with the City of Friendswood Master Drainage Plan on phase 2 that we're gonna talk about later, when we also go for grant, is gonna get this on the Clear Creek watershed people, not Dixon Bayou. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna gather this information from Texas A&M. These people are studs. They're gonna give us a lot of information, I think more than we bargained for the sedimentation study, which is directly what the Corps told us down at the Corps meeting when I first met with them, when I became president of the board, when they said, hey, let us know if there's sedimentation in the river, in the creek, and we'll do something about it. There's grants for that to go for also, but we want y'all to prove it. So we had Nick come tell us with Dr. Brody that David introduced us to, and they said they could do that, no problem. It was right in their freaking flight path. So we said, good. We're getting a lot of information for that, and we'll use the study about Andrew and lowering the water level at the gates. We'll use the city's information. We think we can really drastically reduce phase 2 of the Clear Creek study to the point where it's possible, I don't know if it's totally possible, that Samantha and Scott, with a little assistance, can do that for a lot less money than $1 million. A lot less. But we won't know until we're going to spend it one way or the other. And the studies really help us along with what Friendswood will give us, I think, to do that. I know Griffon said, hey, don't spend your money twice. But like we talked about Hill, our scopes don't overlap completely. They really don't. They're looking at a lot more neighborhood stuff and getting water to us. Remember, they get the water to us, we get the water out. And these studies really, really focus on getting the water out of the city. They really focus on getting out of the county, maybe. So that's what we're looking at. So that's the purpose of these IDRT studies, and that kind of dovetails into our next agenda item. So just for an explanation, is there anybody else who has any questions or about the studies? I know we've had proposals, we've seen both proposals, but is there anything else to ask Scott? What y'all might want to see, or I mean, anything you can think of that Andrew and that Nick didn't cover?
Was this the presentation that they gave this month?
That was Andrew gave the second half. Nick gave the one in, I believe Nick's was in December.
December,
Yes.
of the drones and.
Yeah.
But it's more than just looking at the sediment.
Yeah, it's the second study is the gate optimization study.
Okay.
The first one is the one that the Corps and that we were already interested in until Samantha was in that meeting when the Corps talked about the sedimentation. It was on their grant list. She gave us grants on the list, and we were looking at it, and we looked at it and went, hey, there's a sedimentation study, because I was already saying that creek's been filling in for 30, 40 years. There's all kinds of stuff in there.
They were just looking for proof.
Right.
Give us the proof.
They said, you were there, Dave. They said, give us the proof. We said, okay, well, I mean, my God, we pulled golf carts and Volkswagen Beetles out of that thing. And there's all kinds of sediment stuff in there. They said, well, we'd love for you to prove it. Okay.
I do have one more comment.
Sure.
So $500,000 does look like a lot of money for a study that isn't specifically related to a single project.
Two
Two studies, one overarching master agreement. However, we've been extremely frugal with land acquisition, and we don't have anything upcoming in the next couple quarters. And we do have $500,000 budgeted for land acquisition in this fiscal year. And so I wouldn't be too worried about where that's coming from, because that's kind of the area where I would pull it out of the budget, and which has already been, allocated for.
And I'll say, I think and Jim and I love looking for land. I think if we found some land that was great for the district, I still think we have the money to buy it.
And there's some great grants for that too.
And we have some land to talk about for that coming up too out there. I know some land on my mind right now. I got 2 pieces. Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Excellent.
What I was going to say, if I can,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, was that buying into Texas A&M gives us a foot in the door to expand this whole thing.
Yep.
It's probably a good price.
So what Jim's saying too is Dr. Brody is a direct predecessor of Dr. Sherrill, Dr. Merrill, sorry. I'm thinking of Jackie Sherrill. See, I want to win. I want to win football games. So, but Harold Whitaker gave Dr. Merrill back in the day, when I don't even know it was called the Institute for Disaster Resilient Texas, he gave him some crazy amount of money. I think it was like $500,000 when our budget here was probably $2 or $3 million because he was a big believer. So, I mean, and we found this out at the Ion Hotel when we met with 3 PhDs and the program director, Jason Teeman was there. And he said, hey, you know, your district gave us a lot of money back in the day. We were like, really? He goes, guy named Harold Whitaker. We said, man, so I'm gonna tell you, Harold was way ahead of his time on that. That's one of the things that I never knew. I've sitting in church forever. I never knew that, but going what Jim's saying, it does give us a lot of power because they've done a Navasota River study and they're pretty powerful up there. And I do believe that we're getting, it's expensive, but I believe we're getting probably $1 million+ study for half the cost because it's a institution and they're able to bring that to bear down here for us. So
I will say that the modeling they're gonna do for the gates and pump, we can incorporate into our master drainage plan when we do the Clear Creek master drainage plan, because it's a 1D, 2D model, which we would be looking at using. And then they're also looking at working with us on a grant application for an additional projects. We're still working on what that's gonna look like, but so they're looking for ways to reduce costs to us for future studies.
thank you, David Johnson, for that introduction. Thank you. That was an excellent introduction.
Sure was.
Okay. Jay, discussion consideration funding phase 1. That's the biggest and value side of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District Master Drainage Plan. The estimated phase 1 cost, and Samantha put it up there, was $695,000. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
I'd like to amend that amount to $400,000 as a maximum that we will allocate and work from there. Scott, Jim, and I talked about that, and we think that's a better approach, and it might be a little high, and I think that's enough money for us to allocate that direction in Dixon Valley watershed to begin with, and we can start from there. And if we need to work up, I can bring it back to the board and ask y'all what y'all want to do versus asking y'all for a lot of money that I'm not comfortable asking for, to be honest with you.
I'm with you.
Does anybody have a problem with that addition? Discussion?
We don't have any real engineering data on Dickinson Valley. And that's where the majority of our growth is taking place. And we've got what some people think are unrealistic right-of-way requirements, 200 feet on 300 feet. And we need, I think, some scientific data to validate that right-of-way with. And I personally would like to fund it. I don't want to go do a 2-year wait to see if the government would Trump removing everything, see if it gets passed or not.
I agree.
Way too much time.
I agree. I think if we fund phase 1, by the time in our, what we talked about, if we fund phase 1, I think phase 2 is a couple of years away. And by the time we get there, you know, our funding will be good, and Samantha we're going to get to that next one. She'll be off on the grant train, which is going to take that long too. And we're going to have the data from Friendswood, hopefully Hill, in 2 years. Man, I hope so. I know it's been a long haul for y'all because y'all's is grant funded. And what Jim just said is we don't want to get down that road. We want to move. And luckily, we have the funds to do it. So we want to move, and then maybe it'll funnel right into y'all's information. I know it'll funnel right into IDRT's information, and that will be the quan for, I think, us getting our grant money back and having an answer for that. So we'll know exactly what we're up against. That's the plan.
Agreed.
We're forced to wait all the time. I think that if we can take charge on this one and get rolling as fast as we can, that's where we can really make a difference. So, I mean, you hope and want to handle it, but the people can't afford to wait. So I'm all for it.
David, I'm good with
Yeah,
Kim?
I am too. No,
Motion
we
to
can't-
approve.
We can't wait.
At the $400,000
At the
level.
400,000. Second.
All those in favor?
I
Good work. Good work. Discussion, consideration, approval, submission of the HGMP grant. This is not for money. I'm not asking for $1 million for the Galveston County Excited Drainage District Master Drainage Plan Phase 2. Estimated phase cost could be up to $1 million for Samantha to go after $1 million in grant money. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Samantha? So let us know what your plan is for phase 2. So let's just say, and no plans go to plan, and it won't go totally to plan, but let's say it comes close. What is your game plan?
So, I mean, the game plan would be to look at applying for an HGMP, a hazard mitigation plan grant through FEMA, and hoping that comes through. My only hesitancy is that there is a lot of chaos going on at the federal level right now. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but a lot of grant programs have been frozen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So there's some discussion that FEMA may be pulled into, maybe dissolved or pulled into its own organization directly under the president. So I think there's a lot of unknowns at this time, but that would be, that traditionally that would be how I would go. The other thing we can do is I know the Texas State Flood Plan is updating again. We do not score well for construction projects here, but it's a lot easier to score well for planning projects. So we could include the master drainage plan into the next version of the state flood plan and pursue a state grant if there's lots of different federal funding opportunities.
Do you think in 2 years you'll have an answer for us?
I sure hope so. Anything that comes up that I think will work, I'm gonna go out.
Well, Scott, what did they say? What did the IDRT say? They said, Nick and them said 8 to 12 months probably.
Yeah, they 12
And what are you thinking about phase one of Dickinson? What are you thinking for that? 18 months?
That's what you,
Yeah, I think it'll be 18 months.
by the time you get to the RFP and sexual.
So we could have the IDRT stuff back first, hypothetically. Quickly, we could get all our stuff back for the Dixon Bayou side, and then the city of Friendswood, hopefully you can talk about that in your report, could hit with y'all's master drainage plan. That'd be sweet. We'd have a lot of data to pour through. And I feel sorry for you, Scott, and you, Samantha. Y'all have a lot of data to pour through and pull together. But that would be nice. So.
Yeah, I'd like to wait. I think the timing's such that we can have opportunity to review the city's master drainage plan and see what additions we had to make it fit our need.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
So this is just considering the grant for phase 2,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
The process is, so if we have it teed up, you know just as well as I do, things change dynamically up there. If we have a recession, they're going to start spending federal funds, and if Samantha's teed up, we might be able to just slide it in there and get it right away. You never know.
Right.
So.
And Samantha, this is to get up to $1 million. We'd be happy. I saw your projection up there. I think it said 255. I'd love to get 400,000, 500,000. I think that might cover it, honestly, along with it might more than cover it. We don't know, but we're gonna have a lot of info for you to piggyback that money on if you can get it. So pressure's on that one.
Okay.
All right.
I have one question about the city's applied and they've got a grant
Yes.
on Clear Creek. Does that make our opportunity to get a grant less for the same thing?
I don't think so, because the scope of what we're going to be doing is pretty different than the city. The city is going to be looking at some like river projects, but primarily they're looking at street level drainage. So we're looking at local and regional river projects. So it's pretty different.
So we're looking at two different things.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. I don't think it'll make a difference. No.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good work. Discussion and L, consideration approval of an agreement with Proscape Development for mowing services. This is a recommendation to procure competitive bids for a longer term. However, in the meantime, to preserve and protect the public health and safety under local government code 252-022. Recommendation to approve a one-year term agreement with the option to terminate in 60 days notice following the conclusion of procurement process. And then moving on, the same discussion and consideration for DC contracting services. On M is a recommendation to procure competitive bids for a longer term. In the meantime, the government code 2025-2-002 and a related to work performed on a day-to-day basis paid by the day as work progresses. Recommendation to approve a one-year term agreement with the option to terminate in 60 days notice following conclusion of procurement processes. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss item L.
Yes.
Second.
Paige, please explain to the board the history and what's going on and what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, brutal honesty time. The problem with being historically understaffed, including not having an in-house attorney, is the fact that some of the vendors that y'all have been using, you've been using without a contract. You've been just getting monthly invoices, paying them. Legally speaking, if a contract's worth over a certain amount, it has to be competitively procured.
Per our procurement.
For our procurement and per state.
Yeah.
And because, for example, the mowing services, we appreciate our mowing services. We're not trying to make them go away. What we're trying to do is make sure that we have our T's crossed, our I's dotted, and so that we're approving agreements that with our current vendors, ProScape Development, as well as DC Contracting Services LLC, for what they're already doing now for us. And while we're using them, because without them, if we were to say, hey, we can't use you anymore until we get competitively bid, our citizens would be in danger. Because things would get overgrown, the creeks would not be maintained, pieces of the bank would go into disrepair. We just only have 5 staff members in the back that can do that sort of thing, and it's not enough people to maintain the entirety of our jurisdiction. We have to use the vendors that we have in order to keep on keeping on. And so while we go out for competitively bid vendors, we need contracts.
I'm going to step in and add even more to this. So
Yes.
this is really disappointing. This actually makes me want to cry. But because we did not have contracts in place, well, it's 2 things. We did not have contracts in place, and on top of that, anytime we have a contract over $25,000, it's supposed to be professionally bid. That means that we cannot get reimbursed for DC or ProScape during barrel. And if we just had those contracts in place, we would have gotten all that money back.
We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Like
Yeah, we're-
probably $700,000. It's really.
And this is how the district was run before.
Yes.
Wow.
So there's bad news, but the good news is that it's fixable. So going forward, we're gonna make sure that, you've hired the staff to steer the ship, and we're gonna steer the ship.
I think it's a great idea.
Yes, absolutely.
The termination doesn't. It's just.
No, and actually the one that I've sent out to the vendors, I changed it a little bit, since I drafted the agenda. It's actually a rolling term, just in case the procurement takes a bit longer or something happens. And then it's actually a 30 days notice, for any cost. I don't expect to go elsewhere. But we have to make sure that we're using public funds correctly, and that includes competitively bidding. And we've met with both ProScape and DC and let them know that we have to do what we have to do. And Ryan Smith is actually here from ProScape. If y'all have any questions about it,
And to follow up, yes, I've inherited a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to complain about it because we got to go forward. But I have hired and brought great staff to the board that the board has approved, because it takes the board approving the hire, and they are steering the ship and doing a wonderful job. So I'm super proud of them. I'm going to talk about it a little later. I'm super proud of them, but that is disappointing, Samantha. And we learned that actually last week, I believe, or the week, I can't remember when we learned it. And it I didn't tell all y'all at the board, I wanted y'all to hear it, but it was not the best news. But we're fixing stuff in the expired medicine cabinet. I'm getting to it as fast as I can. But thank y'all for that information. And once again, ProScape is doing a great job.
Yes.
I think DC has done a great job for us, always has. So we're just looking to tidy this up so we can, make sure we're taking care of the citizens' pocketbooks.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, Jim or Dave? Anybody? Motion to approve,
Motion.
Just L and M together.
all them together.
Great.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and discussion consideration approval of the CEO and COO, that's Paige and Samantha, to attend the FEMA Fundamentals of Grant Management courses. It says there's no cost, agency approval needed prior to the registration. Of a motion to discuss, if there's any discussion.
It's just a time commitment. I think it's like 9 or 10 hours a week for 3 weeks.
How about a motion?
Motion to approve.
Yeah, sorry. Right. Second, our motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's move it.
Yeah.
Discussion and consideration to nominate Samantha Heritos for the San Jacinto Region 6 Coastal Communities position. The deadline's March 31st. Most of the people there are staff. So do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Congratulations, Sam.
So you'll be with Hill? Is that
I
what you're on?
that board will get several nominations and then they have to vote on it.
That's the one you.
Yes,
That's the one I was appointed to recently, yes.
Very cool.
Good. It's a good combo. That's
Back together.
That's excellent representation of the city and the drainage district. So, all right, Samantha, good, more stuff for you. All right, P, discussion and consideration approval of vehicle purchase up to $56,000. It's going to replace our 2001 unit 801-13 with an 8-foot bed routinely used for debris removal, hauling materials, transporting the crew, and hauling a 12-foot paddle john boat. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 7, consent agenda. Anybody have anything that they want to talk about, pull off the consent agenda regarding the bills or the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Favor? All those in favor? Aye. Resolutions. A, 2025-08, a resolution setting the board fees of office at $221 per day, maximum annual fee $7,200 per year per the Texas Water Code 49.060. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution B, 2025-09, a resolution regarding tax assessment and collection services with being moved to the Galveston County Assessor and Collector of Taxes. I ask for a motion to discuss on this one.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
I have not been in favor of this, but when I consider that the growth of the district is in League City and outside the school district, I think probably we ought to go to somebody that has a broader picture and primary input on the tax base. So I've changed my mind and I'm now for that.
Excellent. Yeah, I found that presentation to be solid. I think that the speed with which things will be taken care of in the new restaurant is what we can go for.
I already do it in Pearland and Brazoria County and Allen, so I have no problem with it here.
I'm good with it. It's 22 cents per parcel. The information that I get comes from the county anyway. I talk to Cheryl's office a lot on this. They're super professional. They have a lot of staff. I think with our updated professional staff here, I think you're going to find the amount of information that you get from her is going to be, it can be at the time even overwhelming, but it's going to be very detailed, very good. I expect what we get here at the board, Jim. Remember, I expect it to be very professional from y'all and just spot on everything that we ask for. And I think that Cheryl will accommodate you also. It's not very expensive at all. It's $3,000 or $4,000 and you get what you pay for it. I'm very excited about it because I've dealt with her on a lot of different issues and been very impressed. So y'all know how I feel about it. So do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9, discussion and reports from the staff members. And we can move this along. Paige, y'all take it away.
Sure. I'll take A, so partnership with county and League City regarding the feasibility study, scoping and cost allocations. We've been meeting with them regularly, and this is the most recent topic that we've come up with. So we're looking at the different kind of levels of costs and making sure that it's allocated appropriately between counties, cities, districts, and all the stakeholders that would be involved in it. And then item B, on 2/20/2025, Smith and I had an internal meeting with IDRT regarding a possible third proposal that's coming soon regarding neutral-based solutions. And we'll get more into that. And once it's more solidified, we'll have them come in and do another presentation and see if it's something that y'all are interested in doing. C, bill recovery FEMA. We've already touched on that briefly, but the bad news regarding most of the big chunk of recovery costs, which is debris removal, and how that's affected by our lack of the lack of contract administration procurement.
We should still be able to get reimbursement for
Yes.
staff and for debris tickets and for use of our equipment. So there will be some funding coming back.
Yes.
How much do you think we'll get?
I think it'll be between $250,000 and $300,000. We're still working on getting that together. Basically the bank repair projects, it's just not going to happen. And they wanted to help us, but it just keeps coming back to the fact that our own procurement guidance says over $25,000 we have to go out for bid, and we didn't even have a current contract in place. So it's really frustrating, but yeah, so I think we'll get our own staff that work debris, and the equipment that we use, that'll be reimbursable. There'll be some management costs that we can put together that are reimbursable as well.
Yeah, so that's the bad news. And then grants update, I'll let you take this away as well, but I did want to touch on the fact that we did submit 4 grants in February, which was our goal for those precinct 2 partnership grants. The master drainage plan CIP, we can start putting together that phase 2, since now that we have that submission approved for March. Elevation projects for Earlham, we're still gathering multiple quotes on that, so we can start moving forward on figuring out what exactly those costs are and get that solidified before we submit that grant. Because if y'all recall, that's where if the funding is above the 250,000, those additional costs will be covered by the district, and we want to make sure that we're giving a fair opportunity to anyone else who's interested in the project. So we need more information, and that's where we're at on that item. The upcoming meeting with property owners, we do have multiple property owners that are interested in elevation projects like Fort Earlham. And so Samantha's putting together a date probably in April, mid to late April, where we can get everybody together in one room and distribute information. And so we're not just answering phones and taking phone calls and giving people incomplete information. And so when we have that date, we'll get it to you. And then the audit update, Miss Grace has gone home for the evening, but it is going okay. We're on time. And so I say okay because we've had a lot of turnover in staff. And so with turnover in staff comes, where are all these items? Which means it takes a little bit longer to get those items to the auditor, but we're still on time. So, okay. And then upcoming hazard mitigation plan first stakeholder meeting, March 27th. Samantha, who's involved in that?
So our contractor has sent emails out on letterhead to several stakeholders, and that meeting's going to occur on the 27th. It's everything from local agencies to nonprofits like Keep Friendswood Beautiful, Keep League City Beautiful. I think to even a few of the large hospital emergency staff. So,
which is great.
Yep.
And then upcoming quarterly newsletter printing and mailing. So one of the other goals on our list is to put out a quarterly newsletter to citizens about what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're spending tax funds, and the effect that it has, the cost benefits of it in an easily digestible format. And so we are getting multiple quotes on the printing and mailing, but that first issue we're hoping is coming in the next 2 months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And District Engineers Report, Mr. Sheridan.
Thank you for the floor. Run through this real quick. DSC and FMS staff currently started gathering the existing approved plans that are our historical records for the district. that were signed and approved from the past 30 years, and started cataloging those electronically, scanning them in, right, giving them an ID number so we could keep up with that and we can gather it. So we're working on that. The district recently transitioned to electric plant submittal only, which has been great. And obviously, as you're aware, electric, we're signing the plans electronically as well. There are a few Mylars when we do subdivision plats, the final plats when they're ready for city approval and recording. You do have to wet sign those. So there's a couple of those that are in the conference room there that need to be signed. And then we all met with some citizens over there on El Dorado and here recently, and listened to their concerns. And I think we've got a good plan moving forward. Randy's in the process of looking at some siphons and how we clean out our facilities, and the city's looking at how they could grade those roadside ditches to optimize their drainage over there. And we're also trying to acquire additional drainage easements in there. That's across private property, that there's an existing ditch there that's plugged up. We can't access it. That's
As part of your item, I'm going to touch over to our field superintendent, Randy Rollins, who's got a couple of items that he wanted to share that he's been working on as well.
On the El Dorado, we have been over to see some things that we can do. I'm going to be in contact with some of the residents to see if we can get some access on their property to dig out a few of the ditches and clean out one of the ones that is got a lot of brush on it, just to help the water start moving quicker. I put a little list together of the tasks that we have done since our last meeting, which was a little less than 30 days ago. Obviously, it's been a lot of rain, so it's kept us from doing a lot of things. But the first item the second day I was here, we were on Myrtlewood, and the city helped us. I believe it was in Mr. Johnson's backyard. Get a stump that had gone into a drainage ditch that we couldn't figure out if it was the cities or the districts, but the city helped us, and we were able to get that out and get everything draining again fairly quickly there. Mary's Creek, we've had here recently, we've taken a tree that had fallen, a large tree that had fallen across the creek, cleaned up some of the shelving. There's a lot of those tire debris and things like that on the shelving there. Where the tree fell, so we picked that up. There was some piping left from a contractor that had done some work a long time ago. Able to get that, and some other trees that were down. We've done a lot of stump grinding here recently on Dunbar, at the boat ramp that we have on North Berkeley Drive and in Chapel Hill. The Chapel Hill location, we were able to get. We'll like this way we get the dirt off of that. So we finally got dry enough where we could get out there and get the dirt that we had there. On the other side of Castlewood is where we're doing, we put in a drainage pond, and we just have to cement the outflow in the creek. Once we finish that, we'll be able to go over to Sugar Creek and take care of the sloping of the bank there right behind Ross's house. Mowing, we've been doing mowing with it being wet. We've done a lot of just our 0 turns of mowing. We haven't been able to get a bunch of heavy equipment out until recently. I have our contractor ProScape that will be starting next week. The grass is finally starting to grow, and I'm sure within a few weeks it's going to be growing an inch a day. Sugar Creek, I talked about we're going to be behind Mr. Ross's house pretty quick. Let's see. I already talked about the Chapel Hill stuff. Clear Creek, we have a job going on a bank repair that we were able to start that we've been waiting to do for almost 2 months now. And it's just a repair of an item that we had. So we're getting that done. I want the board to know we also have put together on our access files where you can go in and see our project tracking and see every project that we have, where we're at on it. I'm noting it every day. That's something that we do. So you guys will know when we finish something, because it'll say finished on there, or say in progress, or it'll say it's waiting. So it'll be something that everybody will be up to date on what we're doing. I also have one in there with call-in, where folks call in and, they have a situation where something is wrong. I have that information in there too, so if it ever comes up and you've got an email or something from a citizen, you'll be able to go in and actually see if we've talked to them and something's happening. Just so we can all keep on top, because there wasn't anything like that before. So I think it'll be nice that you guys get, because I'm sure y'all get emails that we don't get and asking for something to see. That's what we have going so far.
So what we can control, which is the flow and the output, it's gonna flow like the lines of Capistrano. And that's what I've directed Mr. Rowland to do.
Absolutely.
Until we can get this, clear view and stuff going, we're gonna make sure the district is rolling and flowing.
And we're moving quickly. I mean, today I found a tree across Clear Creek that had no idea it was there. And we just happened to be walking in the forest and looking at one of the drainage ponds out there, and had a resident walk out with the dog and mentioned that there was something in the water. So we went back there and walked back there and saw it. So it's something we're going to be getting out within a week or so. And it's a huge tree.
Then remember, the old board, we spent about $500,000 on barge work, coming up and down the creeks and what we could get to. And we're about that. Well, it's going to be a while, but we're going to get our barge. And Randy, I've heard somewhere he can drive a boat pretty good. That's the word anyway. But we're going to have a barge that we'll be able to use 2 or 3 times a year, which will far and away blow away what we spent, and a barge that we could get to other municipalities if they wanted to rent it from us. But it's going to be a very capable barge that Scott Sheridan has got designed for us. So I'm excited about that. How far are we out from that, Scott? 9 months, 8 months?
9 months, yes.
So I'm pumped about that. That's going to be a big addition to the district, and it was less expensive than one time we used that barge for what, Jim? What we used it for 8 weeks? 2 months? Maybe 3 or 4 months. And it did a lot of work. It cut a lot of stuff. So anyway, thank you. All right, City of Friendswood, we don't have any council. Hill, you're up.
Yeah, just wanted to share, we've got, Friendswood Trails fixing to come online. We did a walkthrough with their contractor last week. There's 2 sections that have been recently completed. The south half of Friendswood Trails, they'll be working on some punch list items here in the next couple of weeks, and then after that, they'll be able to start pulling some permits to build houses there. Staying on the development front, we've been hearing some chatter from Georgetown, and we got a call from them today indicating that they're getting ready to start breaking some ground out there to start installing their utilities. So I'm crossing my fingers that happens, but I won't hold my breath until then. They've gone back and forth on whether or not they were going to get started out there, but this time they seem to be for real this time. So we'll find out here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Matt is he works for Chris Sims. He's the district engineer over in Lake City. For y'all who don't know him, he's in the back. He's pretty good to us. So go ahead, Matt.
How y'all doing this evening? Just an update on the Westland Ranch development. If you hadn't noticed by now, that north-south collector, Magnolia Bayou Drive that connects to FM 517 is open now. So that'll be a nice little north-south passageway for folks in that area.
It saves me 15 minutes getting to Dickinson.
Yeah, so
Straight through.
we know folks will appreciate that. Accordingly, the section adjacent to that roadway, Lakes of Westland Ranch, Section 6, has been accepted by the city. So you'll start to see some home building there. In talking with the Forest Star folks, that's the developer for Westland Ranch. Looks like their next section will be Westland Ranch Section 5. That will be their next focus, followed by Section 10 at some point. So their progress is somewhat slow, but been steady distance. So we'll keep you guys apprised on that. And then, you know, the legacy development, I'd like to keep you guys apprised on that one as well. Legacy Boulevard is which is one of their main roadways that kind of runs I guess you'd say north-south, but it's approaching its testing point. Utilities have been installed, paving has been installed, so they're preparing to start testing that. And adjacent to that roadway, they've got a couple sections that are utilities installed and paved out. So they're, you know, I'm sure they're trying to push that roadway project completion along so that they can get those sections moving. And then West Boulevard, which is an extension of the roadway in Friendswood there. That's ongoing as well. They've been doing some paving. It's not quite as close to completion as Legacy Boulevard, but it's, you know, that entire development's been very aggressive. In addition to these roadways and these couple sections I mentioned, there's 5 or 6 other sections that they are constructing right now and making headway, installing utilities. So, but that development's blowing and going. So I think that's all I've got to report today, unless you guys got any questions or concerns for me.
Did we ever hear about what CenterPoint was gonna do about that box that's out there at?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all have heard anything.
Okay.
Yes, so they've removed the easy to pick up concrete to break up and take out, and then they have a 6-month plan to reroute the box. But because there's a lot of pupils and underground utilities that go to it, it takes at least 6 months to move it.
So what they're talking about, for the people who've gone, that they put a switch box or so in our area.
Drainage right away.
In our drainage right away, and we're with CenterPoint, and we worked with Matt in the city of League City about moving that. They come out there and marked it, and they've moved maybe some Brooklyn concrete, but they have to move the switch box back. But there's, you know, God knows how much cable on the ground they have to move. It's not going to be just
it's a main transmission line too, right? So it's not like it's just.
Yeah.
It happens. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens. But one thing I'll say about Matt is Matt knows a lot about this district because he sat through every meeting for a long time. He sits to the bitter end, and Hill does too. So I'm telling you, we're lucky to have those two engineers in Friendswood and League City. But they sit to the bitter end, and Matt sits there patiently. So thank you, Matt.
Yes.
I'm sorry you have to. Maybe we should move him up. Maybe we should move. Would you leave if we moved you up?
No.
You wouldn't. Okay.
Fine.
Okay. But I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Board of Directors report. Mr. Gibson.
Got some pictures for us.
Let's see if I can get them up, Mr. Jim. We can get
I give a report on the Dixon Farm Road detention area. As of February the 18th, they had 70 days to finish phase 1, or they would get into the penalty phase. And I don't know how many rainout days they've had since February the 18th.
There were plenty. There were plenty.
But the good news is that it's a functional detention basin right now. It's only going to get bigger. What we're looking here is a view west from near Dixon Farm Road at the trees that they had taken down for phase 2. And it's quite an operation. I didn't get all the main trees in there on the right, but you can see that shredder, and it's really putting up the pile of chips. Go to the next one. This is set on the corner of the existing excavation on the Dixie Farm Road Pearland side. of the detention pond. And look, and you see how big it is. in that white area in the background is sand. And then you see it's come forward, it gets more sandy loam. So they're changing structures. But that's quite a sizable hole. The next picture got get a little bit more perspective. This is on the Pearland side looking down the Clear Creek side of the ditch. You can see pickup trucks on the berm and get a feel for how large it is. So anyway, the good news is it's functional. It's only get larger, and we're in the process, or they're in the process of making the final design and the footprint on the project. That's all I have.
Maybe we can look at having the board all go out and meet at the project site once it dries out a little bit.
It's dry now.
Let's go right.
I don't know, it's still
Thank you,
by
Jim.
my front door. There's a pole.
Dave?
Yeah, I just want to say, thanks to Rusty. He's really taken hold of straightening out a pretty big mess, along with the staff. Thank y'all too for. I said when we hire people in the private sector and it doesn't work out, it takes a year to find and fix the mess. I thought that was going to work here, but I'm thinking it's going to be longer than that. I think it was a bigger mess. It took a long time to get it that way. Each one of these things are disappointing. I think that Rusty spent way more time than probably necessary, but I'm glad to have him on the job. I think one of the great things about having Trump in office is he looks at things like a business. And I think that's generally what we look at it. It's like a business. And I think what we want to do, and I think what we'd like to see is more government, I should say less government, but that they would make more business-like decisions. And it would be really better off for all of us if they did. And so anyway, thank you, Rusty, for your leadership. Paige not only come in and organize this thing, but she also has put her personal touch on it, which is nice. I think it's a nice place to work. I think that the processes that you're coming up with for accounting, I think those are necessary things getting us out of the dark ages. And so thank you for that. Scott and Sam, y'all are hard after it. I appreciate your expertise, and hopefully one of these days we'll get some money. But I'm most excited about the work that Texas A&M is going to do. I think that really will solve everybody's problem all up and down the creek. Rusty, I remember when I brought it up, he was a little skeptical. And I respect his business judgment, so that made me a little skeptical. And I got real skeptical when I saw how much we're going to charge us. But Paige was able to negotiate that down. And, they have so much knowledge. They've already mapped the coastal spine. I mean, they've been working on this for years. And so all you had to do is just ask. And I think the same thing when we met with the Corps. All we did was just ask, and it's amazing what can happen when you just ask. There's all kinds of things. Anyway, I like the approach we're doing, long term, short term. I consider it a multitask, and I think we're hitting this thing at every level. I know we pissed off a lot of people. We're probably going to piss off a lot more people, but I think they respect us. And the bottom line is we're looking after the taxpayers' money, and we're not going to do any more of this crap where we so-called maintenance that ends up costing $1 million with no drawings, no specs, no plans. Those days are over. And so sometimes it makes you unpopular to be a disruptor, but that's exactly what we intend to do. And so anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Kim?
Well, David, I enjoy being a disruptor. I think that that means that we're doing something good for our community and for the people who live in this town and in League City and in our district. I love coming to the 21st century. Because finding out that we were really in the dark ages is really disappointing. And it really shows that your tax dollars weren't being taken care of by the former board. They were using, we don't know what they were doing with those funds, but they weren't taking care of your tax dollars. We weren't elected, and I wasn't elected to sit here and piss away money. We're not gonna do that. And that's not my way of being accountable to y'all as an elected official. So finding this information out, especially about recovery from Beryl, when we should be able to be getting quite a bit of hundreds of thousands of dollars back, and we're not going to be able to get that back because of lack of having a simple contract to follow our laws. And we didn't know, the new board had no idea, but the old board should have known. So thank you for trusting us, because we're going to be good stewards of your money. Thank you to Paige, Scott, and Samantha, and Randy. You've hit the ground running, and I love it. Y'all have all hit the ground running, and it's just amazing to see how things can quickly turn around and start going the right direction. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for trusting us.
Thanks, Kim. That's nice. Jason?
All right, I've got three things, so I'll be quick. First, the third annual Drain the Swamp Crawfish Bash. Our Precinct 3 Commissioner Hank Doogie hosts at Lynn Griffin Park this Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2-ish, whenever. You'll see some of us there. I'll be serving crawfish for the third time. We'll be shaking hands and kissing babies, hanging out with some of our colleagues from League City and around the county. Wanted to echo the sentiments expressed already. Thank you, Rusty. You spend a ridiculous amount of time and mental capital and energy doing this. Rusty can't remember everything. So he had a one-liner this week. He said, Jason, this place was run on a Post-it note in a room of Post-it notes in a hoarder's closet. So I just wanted to, since he may not be able to remember that, I want to say it. On a more serious note, our friend Robert Griffon is not with us tonight. Robert and his brother Mark Griffon are stalwarts of the community, pillars of the community. I've known Griff, Coach, Principal Griffon since I was 6 years old. I've known Robert since I was a teenager. Watching Robert on council has greatly instructed how I pursue what I do here. And Mark has helped take care of my oldest son when he was in high school. And you learn that their father has passed, and the more you learn about their father, the more you come to understand why they are who they are. So I just wanted to acknowledge the Griffon family and their loss this week as they lay their father to rest, and recognize what they do and what he has done for our community.
Sorry.
Thanks, Jason. I'm very humbled and very happy to hear if y'all say anything nice about me. It's fun to work here. I love the work. Yeah, they can't listen. I've known this for a long time. I love the work. I love it. I love drainage and flooding. I don't know why it's weird, but I like it. I love the board. I mean, I can go with Mr. Gibson. We have a lot of history, and believe me, we've had our rough spots and always got along with things and had differences. But I'm always amazed in these meetings that when we put our heads together, we talk about our past experiences and projects we've passed and haven't passed, and draw more experiences, how we come to good decisions. It's really amazing. David has been invaluable in the introduction to IDRT and just as being my wingman on things. His maturity and his business experience and his family's history has been incredible. Kim's like a sister. Our daughters are like daughters to me. It's nice to have somebody sitting beside you that just is that solid with you. And then Jason, I recruited him 2 years ago, and he's learned more about this board sitting here like you, Matt, through every meeting for the last probably 2.5 years, soaking it all up. And I appreciate his memory, because yeah, he remembers stuff that I forget. He reminds me, and believe me, I get a good ribbon from him, and he can be tough on me, but I do remember things. Sometimes I need a little help. I'm 56, but I'm proud of the board's work. I really am. The staff's great. You know, I'm proud who I've hired, and it's nice. So, that's it. So the board of directors will conduct a closed meeting in order to seek the advice of the attorney about pending monthly litigation, sub offers, in any matter of the duty office of the District of Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct for code 551-073 legal services concerning any item on today's agenda. That's it.
The time is 7:53 p.m.
Thank you.
Thanks for. I need a couple of directors, to sign the hard copies of the plats that were approved. Then y'all have.
I did.
Did yours on there? Get the Mylar certificate.
And I didn't do
It's scripted.
I did it just a few minutes ago, but then that way it would happen.
I didn't